Very soon now, it's moving day for 25 million Americans. They'll be moving from their homes and apartments, from the places they've raised families and made memories. Not by choice, but because the Trump evictions are starting soon. The Trump foreclosures. He wrecked the economy.
With all of the trials and tribulations that we read about every night, much of it totally fake news.
And now heartlessly rejects even $600 a week to unemployed Americans.
So that people are going to want to go back to work as opposed to making so much money that they really don't have to.
The man in this house doesn't give a damn if you lose yours. On November 3rd, remember, it's America or Trump.
Hey, you guys, Kareem Jackson, you are live on the set, and I'm going to take you around the world with me. Live a dream as a minimalist CEO. Turning my clients' dreams into reality is what I do, showing that success is truly for everyone. Hey, you guys, I've got new shows weekly. Stay tuned and live your best life. Hey, you guys, how you doing? What's going on? Hope you guys are all doing good. It's so good to see you. My God, it's been a while. I haven't seen you live for almost a week. Usually we go live twice a week, so this is a really good week for us. We're really excited. If you guys don't know me, I'm Kareem Jackson. You're live on the set. I help woke entrepreneurs to minimalize their cluttered lifestyles, help them to outsource their business processes to make more money and more profits while they do it. This is the Minimalist CEO Podcast. You're live on the set. I've got US Attorney David Youngblood, you guys. He is here live with me on the air. He's here. He's in the back room already. As you guys know, we're live on the set on lockdown in Asia. He's, of course, in the States. So we're talking about today, you guys, is, what happened to America? What happened to the American dream? What happened to all the things that were promised? Like now they're rolling back laws that were we fought for and marched for, a century ago or a generation ago. Now you see the KKK is back out. You see Black Americans spiking and getting their passports and wanting to travel and do business, you guys. And then, of course, with the pandemic, there's 40 million plus or 55 million jobs that were lost in the States. Even though, as you guys heard recently, the vaccine in Russia came out. So that means Russia technically kind of beat America, but didn't. But they're doing trials in the Philippines, you guys, starting, I think, next month or something like that. So anyway, me and David are talking about this, you guys. It's really awesome. What's going on, David? Good morning. How are you doing, brother? How you been? Where are you at?
I'm doing well. I'm in Washington, D.C., in the D.C. area, and it's actually raining now. So it's about 9:30 in the p.m. and glad to be joining you, Kareem, and glad to be talking about current events in the U.S.
We're talking about the election, the democracy, the pandemic, the American dream, Black American lifestyle and culture, and the value of Black America. And crazy right now, the most immediate thing everywhere in the news is the election. What do you think, man? What's your frustrations in the States about the election? Because I'm an absentee ballot.
Well, actually, today I'm actually encouraged. I'm encouraged by Vice President Biden's choice of Kamala Harris as his running mate. I think that is a good sign, and I think people are generally welcoming that announcement. So on that level, I'm optimistic. With respect to other things going on surrounding the election, I have more concern. For example, I'm concerned about the recent events with respect to the post office. And even as early as today, the president made clear of his desire not to allow funding for wide-scale ballot issuances, to mail out ballots to everyone prior to, so they could avoid having to stand in lines on election day in a pandemic. I do have some concerns about that. I have some concerns about some of the issues related to cutting back some of the days in certain states where early voting can take place. I have some concerns about some of the ID requirements that are inconsistent and sometimes not well known.
What surprised me, David, I would assume that with the pandemic and the way the world is moving, and we're America, right? So we should be the innovators of everything, that it would have been better to be like, no, we're going to throw tons of money at this and we're going to become the most efficient, upgraded postal service, with this new technology type situation and the world changing, and be the leader in voting since we're the Democratic beacon, right? Why wouldn't we say, seize the opportunity to have a fabulous marketing campaign, new trucks and new machines and new uniforms, and really make it to where we're going to show every democratic country how the hell to do this during a pandemic. But instead, under Trump, it's like we're the laughingstock of America and we look like buffoons and we can't even get mailing right. And when you see the press, it's not even voting yet. They're not getting their medication on time. They're not getting their mail on time. Their things are 2 or 3 weeks late. I mean, it's amazing to me. Because think about it, even in the Philippines, right? I could mail something and it could be there later today, regular mail. And of course, you can order a burger easier than you can send in your mailing vote in America.
Mm-hmm.
You can order a pizza faster. I know that's a terrible comparison, but you would think that they would have been the complete opposite of what they're doing. Not make it harder and not make it to where it's impossible and we look like we can't handle it, because the whole world's like, well, then what are we supposed to do, right?
Right.
Even if you're Puerto Rico, if you're any of these, even if you're the Philippines, for example, right? What are they going to do when they vote? You guys, we have to really get our votes and really understand that this is an opportunity, I think, for us to grow, not actually a situation where we are actually behind and we can't grow.
I'm going to take a different view of that, because I have a much more cynical view of what is taking place. Okay. There is an orchestrated attempt to try to deny Americans their right to vote. It is an intentional thing. It is not a desire. There's no desire out there with respect to this administration, in my view, that says we want to make the Postal Service great. That's not true. Mm-hmm. I think there's an intent to make sure that it is not great, at least until November 3rd. We just found out today that 19 of the sorting machines, these vast sorting machines in post offices, in 5 different sorting centers, 19 of those machines have been removed entirely, taken offline with, I believe, the intent to slow it down. To your earlier point about late medicines and Social Security checks and things like that, I think that's going to play out in a way that is going to be there's going to be a backlash about that. Now, I don't know how effective that backlash will be and whether or not there's enough time to impact a change on the part of the administration to spend the money that was allocated to improve the systems to ensure that voting can be done in a reasonable period of time on the day of election and thereafter.
So if they've got rid of the machine, so then what if they're going to get them fixed or whatever? I mean, I'm being sarcastic.
No. Oh, they weren't broken. They weren't broken.
I hope maybe they're going to upgrade the speed. They're going to tune them up a little bit or something. No.
Well, the argument is that they are seeking efficiencies within the system that will allow the post office to operate more efficiently. That's a ruse in my mind. That is not true. That is not what is taking place. What is taking place is there is great excitement about going to the polls in November. And there has to be a dampening of that enthusiasm.
So what do you think that he benefits by that? Because what I would imagine is that his voters are the ones that vote by mail more than anyone else.
That is a very good point. That is a very good point. And it is dawning on the Republican legislators that, hey, Mr. President, that may not be such a great idea since we're from red states. Post offices are very important and play very central roles in the lives of rural America. And while you may have an objection to the rest of those other people mailing in their ballots, the effect of your comments is to cause the people who would ordinarily seek to vote by mail not request ballots, or not request absentee ballots. So it's having an effect, yes, in urban areas and blue states, but it's also having an effect in red states. And so this may have an unintended consequence for this election.
If you talk about the voting with the terms of absentee, right? I mean, I've got friends that were mailmen for 15, 20 years, brothers, right? But they ain't that many. Those workers are his demographic of his voters.
Well, some of them. In rural areas, you may be correct. Even in small rural areas now, postal workers, who are union workers by and large, have also felt the effects of the policies that have been enacted, not just during the current administration, but over, the past 10 years or so, about funding their pensions and having to double up on pension payments and that sort of thing. Even his voters in rural areas who happen to be postal workers are also feeling the pinch, as it were.
I think we're going to see all these rallies, all these Black Lives Matter. I think you're going to see all those numbers outside of those 4 or 5, voting areas in those cities, and they're going to be overrun. That's what I think is going to happen, because I think the whole world knows the importance of the American, election right now. And that gets me to the democracy of the United States right now, David. We travel a lot. People around the world have no idea why we're protesting, and they don't really understand why we protest. And of course, as a Black American, I get very defensive. Like, okay, I want to see, like, in the Philippines or wherever, I want to see you get that nursing job in America if Black folks didn't protest. There was not protest, no minorities would have anything in the States. I don't think it would stop with Black folks. Remember, women couldn't even vote. That was a protest. So I think a lot of people, really don't understand the democracy wasn't given to us. Anybody. Absolutely not. Us as minorities, including.
No, absolutely not.
Recently, I was telling some friends of mine who were like, well, why are they protesting? What's that about? What's going on with that? That's, this is before this, during this, but they were protesting about the LGBTQ law, right? Mm-hmm. Being fired at work. Mm-hmm. And I made a statement. I said, do you realize that you wouldn't be able to have that job that you have, or even think about that job you have, whether it's in America, whether it's Australia, England, right? If it wasn't for America back then being innovative and pushing forward and protesting it, that was a lot of the Black drag queen or transsexuals, or, and of course, also white gays as well, but started with, of course, Black queens, right? They were fighting so that you, as an Asian or a Mexican, Latino right nearby, or a Black or anyone like that, could have a job at this particular business. When you're abroad, those things are normal for us. And a lot of people that I see around don't realize all the rights you enjoy in the States, including the democracy, are from people like us and our ancestors protesting.
My view of democracy. History shows we take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and that's just the nature of human interaction, I think. It is always the case that we fear when the next guy gets what I have, I'm somehow deprived. And I think that you have to fight for it. There's a document that says you are accorded certain rights just because you were born, not because you're white or Black or Christian or Jew or Muslim. It's just because you, by luck of birth, were born on this soil. You are guaranteed certain things, certain rights, and it has not always been the case that we've shared in those, but everyone has insisted along the way that we live up to those things. We've fought for those to be included in those rights. They were not given freely, without great consternation and even a civil war. Yeah, we've had to fight. Everyone except a white male in this country has had to fight for those words to take on real meaning. And that's why I'm encouraged. It's not Black people protesting for Black rights by themselves. It is young white kids. It's Asian American kids. It's Latino kids, Latinx kids. It's everyone. It's old people. It's old white people. It's old Black people. It's everyone. And that is the beauty of what is transpiring these days. And they're saying enough is enough. And I'm encouraged by that.
Let's talk about the whole pandemic situation in America. My gosh, it's crazy right now. The 2 million cases and then about 175,000 deaths, going to 200,000 deaths.
Yes.
And of course, things are opening up right now. What do you think about that, David? Like, tell me that is not crazy, right?
Yeah, that's I'm one of those people who kind of listens to scientists, and so I'm a little perplexed as to why we are opening up when we haven't met the most basic requirements to do it safely. We haven't listened to the scientists. We haven't followed their recommendations. And when we do it 50%, 75%. And then we've got 25% of the population saying, absolutely not, I'm not going to follow any scientist telling me to do anything because it violates my rights or something. And so, that's why we've had a really poor outcome. And it's likely to not get much better if we don't do something real and in a committed way.
Because I was saying, no, I don't know what they're talking about in the States, but it's about your diet. What are you eating? The healthy food. Like it's you need to get your immune system right. That's the issue. Because you gonna get it. You gotta prepare for getting it. No different than you prepare for the flu. You know someone's gonna give you the flu. So you take your vitamin C, you get your flu shot, right? So we can't do that. And I believe that the pandemic, why it all happened the way it is because what I saw, these videos, David, I'm shooting these in January, February.
Right.
When we were still in the studio, my radio show, the FM radio show that I have in the Philippines, when we were still in studio once a week, we're doing the show. This is back when Kobe Bryant passed away, right? We're doing the news about Kobe Bryant and the pandemic. So we were saying, go straight home, don't go
right.
To the club, right?
No, we didn't do that. In fact, our president was saying it was a hoax.
Yes.
And that we'd have, we've got 5 cases, it'll be gone, in a couple of weeks.
But my thing is that like this, when it comes to that, my point about it, David, is that when you Americans tell you they're testing more than anyone in the world, I freaking test. My partners.
That's a meaningless thing to say.
It's like, what are you talking about? You don't even know. You don't have no clue. Mind you, I'm testing, and he had to wait, by the way. So, for example, no one could leave. So when he tested, you had to wait for your appointment, but that's only because they know you're here. You know what I'm saying? You're not a priority, right? If I would have complained or something, right? He could have went, but he was at the house. So they text you because you can't wait in the hospital, right? So they text you. And they test almost weekly. Everybody. Quezon City, right? In order to work anywhere in Quezon City, you had to be tested to go back to work. Everybody. If there's a case in your area, your building, your office, or your whatever it is, they test everybody. No issue. And it's a rapid test, which I've posted on my Facebook pages that folks know it's real. And then if that comes back positive, they double check is the swab test. So what Trump is saying is that they've done more swab tests, but that's where they made the mistake in the very beginning, back in December of 2019, when they called it a hoax. And why there's more cases, David, is because in the beginning, the test originally was every place you went into in Asia, the mall, the McDonald's, everywhere, had that little test in your forehead, that little gun. That was phase 1. So at that point, if you had a fever or whatever it shows, that's where they got it. That's where they began. America never did that. So of course, by the time that you got into the game, all you can do is swab test. What do you think about the way the American dream has changed? Because a lot of folks are getting their passports now. They're getting their traveling going. You hear about travel entrepreneurs. The travel industry has changed. And I believe that the American dream, especially for Black folks, is changing.
Well, look, I'm firmly convinced I live in the greatest country in the world with the greatest possibility for the greatest amount of freedom. There is no conflict in my mind about that. I've traveled extensively, and still, this is the freest place to be with all its problems. But when you say the American dream, what I've learned about that, quote, American dream, unquote, is that it is possible to have that dream anywhere in the world if you are free to pursue your dream.
And that's exactly what I feel too. I feel like folks ask me all the time, like, why do you travel? Because a lot of foreigners, they love America. Before all this news, now that the questions have changed. And then here they're saying, oh, we get it now. But I think that, yeah, I love America. America's great. It's my country. I believe that the frustrating thing for me is when whites say, I have a home in Paris. I have a country club in Scotland. I have a condo in New Zealand. It's no big deal. Great. Oh, you're rich. You're white, right? That's expected. You travel. I have a passport. Oh, where are you going? I just got back from Mexico, right? But with us, unless it's a vacation, right? We are judged about our patriotism and how we feel. And I'm like, no, the benefit to being American, one of the great, wonderful things of our nation is the freaking passport. That's part of the greatness of America, is that you can have this blue passport that gets you all over the world. The dream is changing. It's not about get a house and a great job and live happily ever after anymore. You know, right. The dream is more about freedom and independence, and realizing, I think, that as an entrepreneur, the freedom there gives you the right to really enjoy your rights as an American when you travel, because when you're in America, you really don't appreciate it as much. When you're abroad, or you're able to go places and you realize, wow, I can just walk in. But you see the other people with other passports, they're in rooms, they gotta go apply, and they get turned away, and you're like, ooh, okay, let me go through my little line over here. And check this out too. The last one here I'm going to ask you about really quick. There's next to the last one. There's one more. We will never forget you is what I talked about. And Black American lifestyle and culture. I put this graphic up, if you see it there, David, because I want folks. I really like, and I notice when I do a lot of these shows, I like us seeing from whence we came, because I'm so proud of it. But people don't realize abroad that all of these things came to fruition because of protests. So right. Now that a new generation, because you ain't out in the street protesting, I ain't in the protesting. These kids that are protesting, and these kids who are, rioting as well, it's a new generation. And I believe that the lifestyle has changed in the sense that now this generation has their own riots, which now, because of TikTok and social media and Facebook and all that crap, they're global.
I think there's a great deal of reflection going on in the African American community, in particular, in the Black community, and I say that because of the group I belong to called Black Expats. There's been a great uptick in the amount of interest in travel. And how do I get a passport? Should I go to Ghana? How about the Philippines? Just different inquiries about traveling and where they could settle. I'm a school teacher, and my husband and I want to move. Where would we be able to get a job teaching, or what kinds of employment opportunities are available elsewhere? There's been a great deal of interest in that particular group. The culture has changed in the sense that, and I don't know if others would agree with me on this, but from my vantage point, what has changed in the culture is the adoption by the larger culture of the Black Lives Matter movement and what that means. Mm-hmm. I think the larger culture has shifted to say yes, Black lives do matter. It was in the past our protestation. I think it has now been adopted by the larger society.
This next segment, you guys, that's lovely, David. They're on the screen, by the way, you guys. This next segment, we're talking about the real value of Black America. What's the real value of Black America, you guys?
What I think is happening, to your point, is there's an increased recognition on the part of Black Americans that $4 trillion does not necessarily have to be spent in America. And they are choosing to, with their dollars, have their impacts with a new life, a new business, a new entrepreneurial opportunity in other countries. For example, what you have done is taken your entrepreneurial spirit and ideas to a place that welcomes it and allows you to build your business in a way that satisfies you under your terms. And I think there's an increased recognition on the part of Black Americans that they too can do the same thing. What you've done is not unique necessarily, but it is in smaller numbers than the majority population.
Because a lot of Black Americans now, as of 2020, are really looking to go, okay, what them niggas been doing? What are they doing again? Where'd you go again? At the gym, online, everywhere. You feel me? And I really do feel that that's the part that that's to me is what I mean when I say woke. Understanding that is an option for you. If you're living, you and I are blessed. You know, you're an attorney. You live in D.C. You have a great relationship. You have a nice home. You have a beautiful dog. And me, I've lived abroad from my laptop for over a decade now. I'm publishing. So when publishing went digital, I was like, well, I don't need an office no more. Give me a plane ticket and my passport back. So it's one of those things where I really believe that if you're not like us, and even you're working McDonald's, a rinky-dink minimum wage job, if you're a hairstylist, anything like that, traveling abroad could change your whole life, because our true value, I believe, as Black Americans specifically, we see it when we travel. When you travel the world with real people, you realize the value of your knowledge, because there's no racism, there's no discrimination. Those barriers are in front of you. You can really enjoy life. But David, I appreciate it. It's been really, really awesome. Love you much. And I will see you.
Take care.
Any season. All right, man.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
I love you all very much. I thank you. You can always message you guys on ask@KareemAntonio.com. You can always message us and ask for your details, insights you may want to have, and all that great stuff. So long story short, you guys, thank you very, very much. Hope you had a great show, and I will see you next time. Until then, Kareem Jackson live on the set. Thanks for being here, you guys.